In the dead of night, when the moon is high and ill winds blow, and the banshees cry and the moonlight casts an unearthly glow, arise, my love, with tales of woe.
Good evening. It is 12 midnight, the Paranormal Hour. Welcome to Ghost to Ghost. I'm your host, Chief Lawson. Ghost to Ghost is a podcast to discuss all paranormal and parapsychology subjects. You can find Ghost to Ghost on all major formats, so tell your friends, tell your family. Come listen to Ghost to Ghost. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the midnight hour. It is time for Ghost to Ghost. Tonight, we're going to begin part one of many parts, a small mini-series where we're going to be introducing and getting to know each of our members of our team. Some are more willing to do this than others, I should point out. But, hey.
We're looking at you, Andrew.
Yeah. And somewhere, Andrew is thinking this over. Okay, so for tonight, with me, I have Sierra Medley, our podcast producer.
Hello.
I have Heather Lawson, our podcast director.
Hello.
And tonight we have with us Eric Knight, our IT manager.
Good evening.
Outstanding. So here's what we're going to do. Tonight we're going to talk with Eric, and Eric is one of our two newest members. Now, I'll tell you, it seems like no matter how hard you try...
And he's already IT manager. Oh.
Yes, which is helpful. We didn't actually bring him on the team for that reason, no matter what anybody thinks. But it life happens, jobs happen, people have to move, people have to transfer, people have to move to Canada. Anyway, as it is, we lose people from time to time, and we hate it because, we those are valuable friends first and foremost, but they're also valuable members to the spirit group and to what we do in the field. So, anyway, having said that, we took on two new. And when did you start, Eric?
I got the notice that you were inviting me at February 4th.
February the 4th. Wow, okay. Well, time goes by a lot quicker, and I'll tell you, as you get older, it goes by. So I couldn't remember. Okay, so one thing and I always tell everybody, we don't put a lot of information out. I had someone ask me, why we didn't tell what city we were in the podcast. And I just say Indianapolis because there are stalkers out there. I will tell you, there are. And my wife, when she was in roller derby, had a few, and I think every roller derby gal had a few stalkers here and there. She managed to marry one, which worked out okay. So anyway.
That is not good life advice.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Good point. Hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I'm not advising
Disclaimer.
anybody to stalk out there.
Well, how do you think I found you guys?
Yeah, well, there you go.
Or get emotionally involved or romantically involved with your stuff.
Yeah. I tell you, it's funny because most people, if they come by us either by the website or they come by us by, I actually had somebody tell me that they'd heard our podcast, and I was proud as peach when they said it, because that was back, I think we'd been on the air maybe 15, 20 episodes. And so, but 9 times out of 10, it's either our Facebook page or our website that bring them in. So, now, you're our newest IT manager, and I say that because we have only had one in the entire history of our group, and so, and we got great hopes, and I know we've got great plans for the future. You're working on a server for us and moving our website internal so we don't have to rely on companies. We had a very good friend of mine ran our website. I never will forget it. He ran it, and I love him to death, and I think he listens to this, so I'm not going to insult him a lot, but yeah, there was days I'd call him, and depending on how sober he was, depending on how fast the site got back up, So we immediately changed, providers. And he's still out there, and he's a great guy, and I still like him. But, we had to part our ways. So we're glad to have you on the team.
Thank you.
And when did you actually apply? Do you remember?
Oh, gosh. I think I reached out to you 6 months maybe before that, said, hey, I'm interested.
Yes.
What's the process? And I started asking you questions. You're like, here's
Yeah.
an application. Let's start there.
And I'll tell you, before we start the application process talking about it, it's a long draw. We've had, just recently, since you guys have got brought on and been brought in, I think we've had 5 people that apply. And I'll tell you, 8 out of 10 times, what happens is you send them the application, and that's the last you hear from them. Then there's that 2%, and usually what kills those, because 1 out of 2 will actually follow through past the questionnaire, which is step 2. And that means, that one's really determined, because usually we figure if we didn't lose them the first time, we'll lose them on the second try. And it's not that we intentionally want to lose people. We vet people, and I always tell everybody we vet people very, very seriously, because this is not... It's not like a Scotch club or a bourbon club or something where people can come and go.
This is a family.
It's a family, yeah. And when it's no different in my mind, having been, combat Navy, having been in the fire service. I look at everybody having everybody's back, and when you're in a dark building, the ghosts are the least of your worries. I mean, between the critters, the drug-induced visitors, and so on and so forth, there's a lot of risk out there, and we have to be a tight-knit group to be able to operate. So we really take the vetting seriously, and we don't want people that won't come in and become part of that family. And, it always is hard for me when I have to bring new people in. One, because of the process, it's hard on them, it's hard on us. We have to go through a lot of stuff. But also, it changes the dynamic of
Orientation.
Orientation.
Again.
We're going to talk about that again, yes. Yes, I've done it enough, and that's what, Andrew said, if it weren't for the fact I hate being on camera, we just tape the whole damn thing. And I said, yeah, but you don't know if they watch it or not. We talked about taping parts of it, but, but anyway, and so, anyhow, let me ask you this. And this is a big question I'm going to ask every member. Why did you pick Spirit out of it? I mean, I know you probably found a few other groups out there.
So here's the thing, and this is what intrigued me, because I looked at all your social media and such, and I followed that. I wanted a group that had a purpose beyond thrill seeking.
Sure.
And so what I noticed about Spirit is, first of all, you try to do everything to go through the process of debunking. Is there a scientific explanation? Is there a reasonable explanation of, that you can find through simple observation or testing? Can you duplicate it? That was intriguing, because so many of these places, what I've seen the groups do is it's a thrill-seeking thing. They go in, they look, they want to, and they go down this path of darker and darker, because they're adrenaline junkies, and they want that thrill. And so once you get conditioned and you go into a haunted location and you experience your first ghost, your first touch, your first scratch, it's exciting. And you're
God, yes.
It's like, wow, I have something I can't explain.
The scratching is not very exciting.
Yeah.
But, hey, there's my theory on that. But anyways, it's very exciting. So I think people get wrapped up in that, and they want to experience this, and it is so dangerous to go after that.
That's true.
And so I wanted a place that, hey, I want to help people. I want to explain. I want, there's just different aspects. And that's what I started asking you questions.
Yeah.
And it was like, what is this group about? Tell me more. And that's what intrigued me.
Outstanding.
So also length. I mean, I know Spirit.
Yeah, we've been around a long time. We were thought of in '99. We actually came about in 2000. But yeah, we've been around a bit.
So that's I wanted a group that was going to align with, my personal experience, my personal goals with it, and it was like, because I have to be genuine, and I need a group that's authentic and is going to, if I'm going to contribute this much time, and invest I want to do it with some group that I can be with for a long, long time. This is. It's not the flavor of the day. This is been a
That's
life,
a good way to look at it.
My experience at this point has been a lifelong experiential situation, and so it's like there's questions out there I'm looking to get answered, and so I wanted a group that was legitimate, had history, and had purpose.
Outstanding. Well, and I'm glad we're that group. I'm glad we got you. I mean, I really am. I'll tell you, and by the way, Sarah, you're going to be able to beat that when it's your turn?
No.
I had to pick on you a minute.
Don't worry, I couldn't either.
I'm just a baby. I just started ghost hunting.
I know. And actually, that kind of leads me to the next question. You were with a group before, and that was in a different town, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Kansas City.
Okay.
I work for a company out there, and I spent a lot of time, and I was doing a lot of, rent to ghost hunts.
We call them paid investigations. We pay to investigate, like pay to play.
Yes, and so they had a evening at the Oddfellows home in Liberty, Kansas.
Yep.
And it was funny because they weren't getting a lot of activity, and I show up, and every location had something, and I'm like, wow. So they were like, hey, would you want to come back for a free hunt? Yeah. And so it was kind of a test, and so we did. I went on an investigation with them. Helped out with some. They had some. They did Friday night paid, and so they had groups. But then afterwards, the group would go do their own private from like 2 till 5 in the morning. So I started doing it with that, and I went out there several times and had great success. They were thrilled because paying customers would have experiences. So I'm like, do ghosts like me? Am I producing this? I don't know. So it was weird, but unfortunately, that facility got condemned and they lost their license, and so I didn't have a home.
Yeah, and then of course, due to your job, you transferred up to here.
So I still have friends out there.
Yes,
but I was actually based in Indy, but my company was out there. So after doing that and driving, it's a long drive.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to find a group local,
and that was in Kansas City, right?
Kansas City.
Yeah, that's 10 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to find someplace local because it was just difficult to do that, and plus I really wanted a group that was, like I said, had more of a purpose. A lot of times it felt like it was entertainment. I mean, they had to pay the bills. Jesse owned it. He had to pay the bills there, so he would put on these public ones, and it wasn't a dog and pony show. Everything we did there was authentic, and in fact, there were some troubles at the end. I won't get too much into it, but he wanted groups that would make the experiences. So even if it was a quiet night, he wanted people that would.
When the bills get tight, people get desperate, and it's unfortunate. I feel sorry for just recently, we lost a facility in Fowler, and I'll tell you what, Dwight is one of the nicest guys in the world, and we're really pushing the Fowler Theater, which is still there, but they had a jail, and he was trying to keep it. It's expensive to get a building that is, nothing that you're fixing up. Everybody says, "Oh, it's got to be a lot easier. You're not flipping the building. It don't matter. You got to try to keep one from disintegrating. Yes. It's every bit as different or as same as upkeeping a hotel. It's a mess. And I mean, and if you're not making big bucks that they're going to pay for the utilities, the mortgage, it gets bad. And I mean, I've seen people resort to things. And one thing I remember, or I can think of her off the top of my head, was when Bobby Mackey, they finally, they milked everything they could out of that building. It was falling down. He didn't want to replace it, but he didn't have a choice. It was getting ready to be condemned. But he stuck right there to the end, and then he's rebuilding it, inviting the ghosts back to the new building. So, at least, he stayed with it. But he had a little bit more finances to do it with. So it does make a difference. I mean, it does. And I always tell people when you pay to play, it depends on where you're at. Now, there's a lot of good people. We talked about Dwight with Fowler, Couch with some of the properties. We're going to be at Randolph Asylum here shortly with one of my Couch's places.
Can't wait.
It's coming up, and I tell you what, and we have a lot of fun at those places, really do. We just recently were at Waverly, and some places, if they're active enough, it's well worth the money. And I tell you what, we've been places that were free that were well worth the money. And I mean, so to speak, and it does make a difference. But unfortunately, there's a few people out there. There's a few people that would love to prove this all to be nothing but bullshit, and they'll set you up. You have to watch. That's why we do our Paranormal University. We don't disclose location to a few days before the class. We'll never make you drive very far, but we do that to keep people from setting up, fake things and little traps that we might think were real and to use to try to expose us as fakes. And we're not fakes, folks. I mean, we put a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of time. And I'm not talking just me. I mean, the whole team puts a lot of effort, time, and money. We all have money invested in gear here, and we have time, and we have effort. So, okay, so you came out of there, and you came down, and you applied. So, what really brought you into paranormal? Everybody usually has at least one instance in life that got you interested in this field. What was that?
So the house I grew up in always had activity, and it was a fresh build. So I can't explain other than I do know. I found out years later my brother was into the cult, and he was bringing home books and reading. And I don't know if there were incantations or what, but I always felt like I was being watched in my home. Well,
yes.
He moved into the farmhouse just right around the corner, and I would mow grass for him, and my mom would help out and stuff. And
sure,
so we're helping take care of it. Like I said, I didn't know he was into that stuff, but that house was so strange. Weird
really?
Activity. Lights would just bust. Like you'd be sitting in a room, and all of a sudden the light bulb would explode. You're like, well, that's weird.
Yes.
And this is probably 1982. Range, and he had a realistic stereo from Radio Shack.
Oh yeah, I remember all those.
I'm listening to Boston More Than a Feeling.
Oh yeah,
and we're hanging out and working out, and all of a sudden we're blasting it. All of a sudden, it turns down.
Oh wow!
And there's no remote. This is
That's back in the days of knobs. It was manual.
You are the remote.
You are the remote. Yes.
Thought that was weird. I was strange feelings, and so I actually started doing experiments. There was this one room. The light bulb would explode.
Wow.
So I would put it in, close the door, and then nobody's going up there, right, John? He's like, no, it's just me in this house.
Yeah.
And I'd come back the next day. And so I just camped out in this room, and I actually saw it. I was sitting in the room.
Wow.
And it could be this is where I'm a kid.
Sure.
I didn't think there could have been an electrical surge or whatever. It was old
Yeah.
house, right? But it would just pop.
Sure.
And so I started becoming consumed by this. Well, I can remember mowing the grass and looking. And you ever had that feeling where you're being watched?
Oh, sure. I think we've all experienced that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm push mowing, and my mom's ride mowing, and my brother, he worked. He worked, and I think at that point he was usually doing nights, but that he was doing a day shift that way. Anyways, my mom and I both stopped what we were doing, and looked at the kitchen, and I remember the kitchen window drapes pulled apart, and it was black inside the house, but it was daylight, and it was just there was just this blackness. Apparently, I just left my mom standing there. I just ran home.
I'm done.
Yeah, I was done. But that I can remember that moment distinctly.
Oh yeah.
And I've been completely fascinated with it. Now, my mom was raised. There are no ghosts.
Yeah.
Years later, we had this conversation, and she was like, I told you all that because I didn't want you to be afraid, but there were all spirits in our house, that house, and all that stuff. And I was like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
Why did you say something?
I thought it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so,
I thought I was losing my mind.
So it's pretty funny.
So you said you were living in a new build?
Yeah, it was built in 1972.
Something on the property prior.
Yeah. Your house doesn't have to be old.
Or something you brought in. Yeah.
It was a Native American campground. We do know that because our garden we found it was. We'd always do gardening, canning and such. And I always remember we dig in the garden, and we would find Indian artifacts, arrowheads, axes.
Oh yeah.
Stuff. And so we know that area was a Native American campground at some point. So, but it wasn't a burial ground, so I don't know. Yeah. But the land is old.
Oh yeah, it could be a lot of things, and you're talking about canning. This is almost September, and we're starting to get to apple butter month. And oh my God, we actually have 4 apple peelers, and it looks like a processing camp up in the up in the kitchen. We make tons of sugar-free.
Any
apple butter.
volunteers?
Yeah, we're always looking for volunteers to peel and help cut, and it's a load of fun.
As long as I can quality control.
Yeah, and we give quarts away. Andrew loves apple butter, and I tell you, it's a process when you go through a bushel. And I was talking to one of the owners of Anderson Orchard, and he told me, he says, you ought to own an orchard and go through more than a bushel. I'm thinking, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, what did you find Indian heads and other things around the property, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, and I tell you, it also can be one question I always gives. People always ask me, should I bring things in the house from antique shops or garage sales? Well, hell, we do. That's how we got a haunted mirror.
We just went to a garage sale earlier.
We actually stopped. We went down to the bank to put something in earlier today, and on the way back, we seen a sign, and that immediately takes precedence, and we went over to take it. It turned out we'd been there before. We knew the guy, and, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean not to. It just means if something starts happening afterwards and it's something you can't live with, then you have to address the issue. But no, I mean, but getting back to that, so you definitely had we'll say the baptism into the paranormal world, and I think most people do. Most people have one or more things that happen that get them interested, and that makes a really big impact on one's life. I know I did, and probably everybody at this table has had that happen. So, okay, so you apply, and you mentioned 6 months. It takes a while to get through our process. People don't believe that, but
Especially around the holidays.
oh God, yes.
It was.
Yeah.
I want to say, I think I first reached out in July, and you said you weren't doing anything, but you'd send me an application.
Yes.
And I think it was around October.
Yes.
You sent me an application, and I filled it out. It was weird. I mean, there were questions on there. I was like, what does that my sperm count have to do with anything?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding. But
Well, no, one time, I don't know if we still have it on there or not. We used to have clothing sizes, including glove sizes, and
It's on the intake form.
is on the intake. Okay, it's on the intake form. And we actually did that because sometimes we would order shirts for Christmas or something, and it would help to know the size. And I found out it really doesn't matter because people lose and gain weight. They don't, and the forms change. And a lot of times you're picking a form that's 4 or 5 years old. So anyway, but most of the questions on there are for a purpose. Some are for entertainment, ours, and there's some that we've grafted, on the, and I should say for people that are listening, the application is pretty straightforward. It's a 2 or 3 page. It does have a few quirky questions, but that's just and if you send that back, we go, okay, this is someone who's willing to move forward. And so, what was the quirkiest question off the application? Do you remember one?
No, I actually don't. I just remember the questionnaire and all the.
Yeah.
It was like.
Now the questionnaire that is actually, it's like 750 questions. And everybody goes, oh my God! I remember one of the guys told me, he says, how long was your paramedic exam? I said, I think it was 580 questions. He goes, Jesus Christ, that's longer than the paramedic. He said, mine was 6. And I, okay. I mean, And, yeah, I mean, there's different sections, and people will try to psychoanalyze this. And that's what we want, to see what they're going to do with it. One section came out of a Microsoft employment questioning. I'll never forget, I was reading a book about how Microsoft hired. And there was one gentleman who was egotistical to no end. He sits down, tells this guy, he says, I want you to know, I'm an expert on DOS. And he says, I'm the best you can get. Guy says, okay. He says, can you tell me the memory call address for, and he reads it off. He says, by the way, I wrote DOS. And the guy just doesn't say a word. He just closes his portfolio, gets up, and walks away. So I was reading all these things, and one of the questions we have is, why are manhole covers round?
I remember that one.
Yeah, and actually there's 3 answers to it, but it's fun because to see what people are going to do with it. And we've had some incredible questions, or answers rather, to the question. And one of the reasons why it's round is because, 1, the hole is round, so it fits it. Number 2, if it was square, you could turn it and it'd fall in. And we don't want that. They're very heavy. And number 3, they were made round because square had too many corners that would catch equipment when workmen were going in the hole. So those are the 3 acceptable answers to the question, and there's other ones there. And, we pulled a lot of them out of the Microsoft test, and then we pulled some out of a couple of military and fire department, IQ testing just to see. And it really isn't to determine the amount of your IQ. It's to determine your thought processing, how you're going to handle something, and if you're going to keep looking for an answer or not. And some of them are just for fun. There's a list. I think it's 100 questions. And one of the questions is, do you like hamburgers or cheeseburgers? There's nothing psychological about that. But if we have to order a whole bunch of stuff, I need to know if you're allergic to cheese or not, or if you'll eat a cheeseburger. Right now, upstairs is my stepdaughter, and she has a 12-item thing that she'll eat. And we actually bought a mini Blackstone griddle, and for the first time today we cooked smash burgers, and she ate 2 of them. That usually is a quick indication. Well, yeah,
She usually eats 2 hamburgers anyway.
yeah, but she wolfed these down, and I thought, I toasted the buns and a whole 9 yards of butter, and I thought, holy shit, this worked. And, every once in a while, squirrel gets a nut. You just have to wait to see what she'll eat. And there's a lot of things she will not eat, but she went right through those. She lives off macaroni and cheese and ramen noodles. When I got out of college, I swore I'd never eat them damn things again.
Well, we've added mini ravioli.
Yes, it turns out she never had that before, and after she had mini ravioli, she got rather attached to that. So, and believe it or not, she's 18, but it's like feeding a 6-year-old. You have to kind of work through what she'll eat. And
I think she has ARFID.
I don't know, but I tell you, it makes it hard when you eat out. So we go places that have broad menus because we got a better chance. If they got chocolate chip pancakes, we're covered.
Ooh.
Yeah, she'll eat those. But and so
Well, somebody else likes them too, apparently. Look,
yeah,
you hear that?
yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's one of those things that we ask questions for a reason. Are you allergic to animals? Well, we have a cat and we have a dog. Some people, when we go in some investigations, if you're allergic to horses, which have a different kind of dander, we have done that where we've actually been in a barn for a while, a haunted barn. So I mean, we need to know what we're looking at. If you have a problem. Were you going to say something? Okay, looked like you were. Okay. Anyway, so then there's other questions. Okay, there's a couple there about eyesight, and it just shows if you're colorblind or not. And actually, it's good to know because a lot of people don't want to discuss them, and that's the medical conditions are private, and I understand that. But we need to know if you're colorblind. It makes a big difference on some of our equipment. So that's a quick way of finding out without you telling us if you're colorblind. There's left hand, right hand thinking. Now, some of that is psychological, but there's no tricks to it. If there's tennis shoe. If you tell us about the tennis shoe color, that tells us where you're right brain thinker or left brain thinker. We talked about in orientation, we'll talk about that in a minute, about the EVPs, hearing 2 different things out of one word. And it depends on your age, your hearing conditions, and so forth. Same thing with that. So we're testing a little bit. But also, the big thing that app does is it tells us if you're willing to put out the effort.
Oh, my.
If you don't fill it out, I remember one person sent it back to me and said, this is stupid. I'm not wasting my time on it. And I emailed her back and said, thank you, because we're not wasting our time with you. Yeah. And that's it. When we get evidence, and this is the one I always use as an example, we did an investigation where a faucet in the bathroom was supposedly turned on. It was a Delta faucet. I'll never forget it. We spent 4 hours watching a Delta faucet. And when we review that evidence, 2 people have to watch it. That's 8 hours. It is very hard to watch a Delta faucet. The only time we panicked was
especially when it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it didn't do a thing the whole 4 hours. The worst part was one of the women forgot about the restroom, had a camera in it, and came in to go to the bathroom. We're going, whoa, 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 whoa.
No.
It turned out we were fine. It didn't see anything but the faucet, but it scared the hell out of all of us because light came on. But we honestly, if you don't have the determination, the stamina, the willpower to sit through 4 hours of a faucet not doing anything, you don't belong here. And I had so many people that have told me over the years that run teams, they go, well, everybody wants to go to the investigation, but nobody wants to review evidence. And so that's why some of the rules we have, and we have a handbook. And I always tell people, it goes by the theory of, what's the guy's name? Comedian. Always says that if there's a sign, somebody tried it once. Jeff Foxworthy.
And
yeah.
Jeff Foxworthy and what's the other?
Here's your sign. Bill and Bull. And I'll tell you what, they both have a good theory to that, because everything in that book, if there's a rule, it means it happened once and we had to fix it. So we, over the last 20 years, we've managed to get a lot of knowledge what to do, what not to do, and so forth. And, I occasionally have people that are organizing paracons and stuff call me and go to, here's what we're doing, anything you think to throw in. I just recently been talking with a gentleman, and by the way, we will be October, and damn, I don't remember the date. I'm going to say it's the 27th. Is the Crawfordsville Paracon. We will be down there.
25th.
25th. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. October 25th.
Coming in clutch.
Yep. That works. And then we'll be in Greenwood. Anybody remember that date?
September 13th.
13th. Yeah, it's on the 13th. I remember that because it's the 13th. So we'll be in Greenwood on September 13th for the Parafest. So you can find us down there. We will have a booth at both locations. So, but anyway, I get people occasionally ask me, because we've had so much experience in doing this. The one thing I will say about the application, it does a great job of vetting. Because if someone actually makes it through there, then we're willing to get serious and look at them. Before then, we kind of and I'll tell you, because I remember when I first talked to you, I said, well, we're really not taking people right now. And we had a pretty good group, but I wasn't real comfortable because I knew I had two people that were thinking a lot of things over about job changes and things, and it had me worried. And I remember I was sitting there at the desk. Andrew came in early, and he looked at me and said, hey, I wanted to tell you, if you're holding out for any reason, fine. But if you're not, I think it's a good idea to put more people on. And that kind of helped me get beyond that because I was sitting there trying to decide, weighing out when we go to investigations, moving people. I mean, all those logistics have to be cut in. And it worked out perfectly. The way this worked out was excellent. I was so glad I took both of you on. And when you first talked to me we talked a couple of times, really loosely, but once we got done with the last one was the oral interview, and we do that on Teams. I think the night we did something was going wrong with the software.
Teams was acting really strange.
Oh, yeah.
Cutting in and out.
Just about time I get it stabilized to do something else stupid. And I mean, oh my God.
That was.
It was. And we keep trying, used to we did them in person. Now, I don't have a problem doing them in person, but that saves somebody from coming in. And we always figured, and certainly you two weren't one of them, but I mean, if you get somebody that's a little unstable, you can cut him off and he doesn't know where you live, Yeah,
well, that's what I say. You bring them into your home, now they know where you live.
Exactly, and there's a safety net to it, And so I really think, it's a good when it works, but yeah, we had a lot of trouble with it that night. So, but, once we got past that point, and it's a long, Christmas is a bad time for us. We usually, actually, about September on through is when my lecture schedule picks up. And that, yes, we get paid for that. We ask for an honorarium, but that goes toward equipment for the group. Half covers our expenses as far as getting their gas, all that, and time. The other half covers the, equipment, and it gets donated. And we lecture all over the state of Indiana. We go quite a ways. Now, I don't generally go out of the state of Indiana unless you're going to give a good-size honorarium because of the drive and everything. But actually, in the next episode, we'll be talking to Sierra more in depth, and that's how we kind of met, was through there. Yeah, so I mean, and I'll tell you, I enjoy doing a lot of the lectures. I truly do. A lot of people.
Stalking.
Yeah, stalking. Yes, that's right. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, well, when we first notified you, because I know you guys were, because I talked to both of you, I think the same day, and gave you the notification, because I was down here working on something. What did you feel were you excited and happy that you got the app, or apprehensive, or that we got the okay to be on the team?
Yeah, I was stunned actually, because in my mind it went faster than I thought it would. So I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, okay, let's get going.
Oh God, I wish everyone felt that way. Yeah.
Well, and I still owe you evidence. You were talking about that evidence. My video camera is so
That's
awful.
okay. I still have the email tags. I keep that there so I don't forget it. Not that I'm holding you feet to the fire. It just is I find if I'm 59. I found out that if I don't make notes, the time I remember it is the time that I'm the furthest from whatever I needed, or the time has passed to whatever I was going to do. So I live off notes and to-do sheets. I keep one running on OneNote, and I print that out when we leave. Heather can tell you, and it's made to fold in half so I can put notes on the back.
Yeah.
And it's not just meetings I make notes, and I make tons of notes. And when I was in the fire service, I had a meeting every other morning, unless something drastic was happening. And I'd draw together all my officers, and we'd go over everything to make sure that, we were doing all we could do to make things happen. And I got so used to that, Heather had to get used to the fact that she had a, staff meeting every morning, and we would cover the day's activities, and we still do that. Yeah, we outline what we're going to do, so everybody's on the same page.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, and when I pack, I have pack lists. I'm retentive on all these kind of things, but I never get any place and not have what I need. Generally, it does have some reasoning behind it. So, but I'm glad you felt that way. I really am. So, one thing we talked about that you seem to be shocked about, and it kind of surprised me, is the fact we don't charge dues.
Yes, every organization has operational costs, and you guys. It's volunteer. It's if you have it and you can do it, great. But you have your honorariums, and there's several members that are super generous. It's strange because what we do costs.
It does.
You have transportation costs. You obviously have food costs.
Yep.
Sometimes there's just inherent cost to it. The equipment is outrageously expensive.
Oh yeah.
There's always something newer and better. The camera technology advances so quickly. You look at the original, the bear.
Yeah.
Now
Oh
you
yeah.
have the boo,
Yes.
the
Boo Bears. Yeah.
What is it called? The Boo Buddy? Or
yeah, and
whatever.
actually, it sent me an email. They got Boo Buddy 2 coming
Yes.
out. Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
but you need it because if it gives you better evidence,
If it gives you an edge to get that evidence, it's worth the price
Exactly.
it costs. Yeah.
especially
it
when
is.
you have someone, it's all fun
Yeah.
and games when you're just doing a fine tune up. Like we did a hunt, and it was kind of a trial. I was rusty. I hadn't done it forever.
Uh-huh.
My body cam, I didn't have a proper mount for it. So most of the time it's either looking at the wall or Andrew's crotch. Unfortunately, that's the video I've seen so far. There's all these costs, and for the fact that it's all volunteer.
Yeah.
It's tremendous investment, and I'm shocked that you have no dues. I would willingly do that.
Well, we tried when we first started out. I think there was 6 of us, and our first camera system was a Swan camera system, and this is something sold at Menards, and we paid a big price for it. We had the DVR and 4 cameras, I think, and I swear to God, it's like when you're a teenager and you buy your first used car. We spent as much time fixing that system as we did using the system. And it was terrible. But we learn a lot. And in this, you learn it's a process. And you learn what to use, what not to use. And one guy who, I miss him. He's a good guy. He actually, I'm so glad his career went well. He lived in Bean Blossom, and I'm not going to give you his name, but he came in, and he now owns part of the Pickle Peddler. If you've never been downtown in Indianapolis, they got them in Texas, they got them in Florida, but they got these little carts. And people pedal while they drink. Yep. And they're called pickle peddlers. And they pedal all around town. Now, what they don't tell people is, and I'll never forget this, because after I found out, I was a little
You
pissed.
don't have to pedal.
No, it turns out it's got a motor. And they just get people to pedal. And I thought, yeah, that, oh. But anyway, and he did tell me that, he runs a division in Texas. But he said, if Spirit ever wants to rent one, he says, you call me, I'll drive it. I'll fly up and drive it for you. And he's a good guy. And he was on our team. He came from a team out of the University of Indianapolis. And their problem was they'd investigate, but they never went over any of their data. And he said, nobody ever went over any of the evidence. He said, I don't know why we even collected it. He said, it was just a thrill game. So when he came to us, he loved being here. He was every bit as tall as Andrew and drove a Mini Cooper. Oh. And I told him, I said, you remind me of the Mirage Shrine Troop. I go, why don't you get a big car? And he goes, oh, no, that one does great because I have to drive so far. And, of course, what worried me was when winter came and snow came, he's driving from Bean Blossom. And, it made me nervous as hell. But he bought these static cams we still have to this day. They're Sony. They're 6mm. He went through and studied it. He bought us 8 cameras and said, "This is my donation." And unfortunately, that donation, he wanted to tell us that he had bought in, invested, and he had to go to Texas to open up this. And I think he's in San Antonio, but I take it back. That's the Canals. I think he's in. Well, I don't know where he's at. I'll be honest.
Would it be Austin?
Could be Austin. I think because Austin sounds right. So it might be Austin. And he opened up a branch there and runs it. And just a fantastic guy. And occasionally we hear from him. And I think he got married. I haven't been in good touch with him because he's been busy. But, we started out that direction. And when we got those cameras, it was like night and day. And people always, the thing is, I've always tried to bring people on with knowledge to help share that. I've always been involved but I'm getting to the age now where I don't want to be the expert in every category. I want someone else to jump in and start, because one of these days I'm not going to be here, and I want the group still to run with other people, and I want it to continue. So I try to cultivate that. But and I'll tell you, it is expensive. And when we start talking about dues, because I belong to the Shrine, and we joke in Freemasonry, we say a $20 bill is a Masonic penny. And I mean, because, there's a lot of money involved. And every club is not expensive. They're $10 to $15 a club a year. But you belong to 10 clubs, and then you pay your dues for the Shrine Temple in general, and that's not counting all your other dues. At one point, I think I was paying around $890 a year in dues.
Ouch.
And I'm a life member of a lot of things now, so I'm down about like $650 altogether. But long term, I enjoyed it. I got something out of it. So, and we want everybody to get something out of here. I wanted people to donate things so they had some ownership and felt that ownership in the group. Hey, I donated stuff. I came in. I donated time. I wanted everybody to have a bit of ownership. If you just come in and we supply all the equipment and you pay dues, you're just here because you paid to be here. People that we have on this team are here because they want to be here. They love the members. They love the work. And they love the concepts. And I think that makes a difference. Do we have problems? Occasionally, but rare. I mean, rare. We may have small disagreements, but they're not a problem in our group. Everybody respects everybody else's opinion. And it's not a big deal. I think sometimes, people that charge dues, you get into other issues. And we've never had a problem since we don't. And think of how long we've been going. And so always there's somebody there willing to throw a little money at it. And we don't force anybody to donate because everybody has a different lifestyle. We don't know, there's times where even people who have money get into a problem. Buy a house. That's a good one. I mean, when we bought it, we immediately got a lot tighter because, we went to a long stretch to get what we wanted. And, in a year or so, that'll bounce back out to where we were at. But it comes with a process. A couple of things I was going to ask you about was CE, continuing education. Have you ever been? I know your other group probably didn't have that.
No.
And I have a lot of people tell me, "Oh my God, you guys do continuing ed." Yeah. What do you think about that concept and the fact we do that?
What? Okay, it's necessary. It's a necessary evil. Some of it's fun. Like, when we're going over new equipment and how to run it. Yeah,
Yes.
that's great. And then there's others just like, oh my gosh, okay, I just got to do it. It's just a part of it. But no, it's a necessary thing. That's what makes this. I think that's what sets this group apart from other groups. I mean, Chief, you run this like a professional organization. There's structure, there's rules. I have never
Thank
been.
you. Thank you.
I've never been with a organization that has the handbook. I mean, the handbook is like, he's like, don't print it, and I'm like, oh, it can't be. No, I started printing it.
Oh no, you don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
no, it's over 100.
Those kind of things. That's the thing I miss about working when I was on shift. I mean, we had laser printers. Shit, I'd send 200-page documents to it, and they didn't blink an eye. Here, we don't do that. Yeah. No, it's your own.
It just speaks that this is to the legitimacy of the group. I think that this, like I said, this is a professional group, and it has expectations, and it's about improving the group. From my personal experience, I thought, oh yeah, I've done plenty of ghost hunts. I've had years of doing this. I came through and we did this last run at Waverly. I was like, oh my gosh, I look like a total amateur. I went back and it's like, okay, the handbook and the classes. There was a class on how to deal with evidence, and I fumbled with the recorder. All you can hear is And it's like I'm so glad it was a dry run. It was just like, oh yeah, got to knock the rust off. But there was a class on how to deal with EVPs, and it was like, I'm going to go retake that for our experience here at Randolph, because I want to do better. I want to actually gain evidence so that we can show the world. I mean, there's the world's always about, well, this is crap. What you're doing is there's nothing there. Well, until someone goes and experiences it. But
exactly.
I would love to have that experiential, having, we experienced it. Then you have an EVP, you have a video, you have an SLS, you have 3 different sources looking at that same piece of evidence. And it's like, so the evidence you collect is so vitally important. You have to do it well.
Yeah.
And so that the continuing education class on how to collect EVPs, that's very important.
Well, and we're working on a manual which will help as well when we get it done. And the problem is like anything else. I'm trying to work on a book too, but I'm getting there. But we try to make sure, because the problem is, if you sit down and say, okay, how many investigations have I gone on this year, and how many months were they apart?
Mm-hmm.
So you use the equipment 4 times, 5 times, 6 times a year, maybe 8 if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to remember how some things work. Now I'll tell you, Tim. And I brag a lot on Tim because Tim memorizes a lot of this stuff.
He's so good.
Yeah, and he'll go through. He knows how to set the recorders up, and we run 2 types of recorders. We run Sony and Olympus.
And you got to do it blind.
Yeah,
'cause it's
blind.
dark.
Oh, we got 3. Yeah, and Zoom. Yeah, he sets them up. He time syncs. He knows the equipment, and he's really good at it. And Tim is a very quiet person. I know it's going to be like interrogating a prisoner when I get him on here for his particular episode. But Tim's one of the greatest guys to deal with. He came from us from another group, and the group had retired, and they actually didn't tell a lot of the members they retired. I knew both of the managers of it, but they both were. One was a fireman, the other was a medic. They retired, and they moved to Florida and forgot to tell the group. And so he was training to be a tech manager, and I brought him on when we still had Jim Hampton before Jim retired as our tech. Mm-hmm. And I had him train under Jim a little bit, and then I put him in. And he does a great job. And we document. We have a drive. A lot of people don't realize, we don't know the inner workings of our group, obviously, but we have a drive. We keep all the instructions. If you go to equipment, you'll find tons and tons of equipment there, and all the instructions are there. And then we also make a laminated card we keep in the cases. So if you arrive out there, you can throw your flashlight on the card, and it'll tell you everything, how that operates. That way, in case you forgot, it'll jog your memory. I think the best one at Waverly I had fun with was, what was the 2 light colors I told you to always use on investigations?
Red and green.
Red and green. Also great because it keeps the bats away.
And
it was so fun watching them with bats with them white lights, because they'll home right in on those lights, and hearing people scream, and it's not a ghost. It's bats. And, bats won't bother red or green lights, and I was kind of laughing about it. And I know there was another group there, and I don't know how long they've been around. I don't know anything about them. Never even really got their name. But I noticed when we started unpacking and going through equipment, we were being watched real close, you know. And that's how you get better. I mean, we've seen other groups do things, caught ideas. The EVPs you're talking about, we learned a lot off M.J. Dickerson from England. We did an EVP class, and we revamped somehow we do. I mean, we take continuing eds too. We're at the Paracons, so it works out really, really well. And I'll tell you, that's made us who we are today. So now, I know you and Sierra both being the newest members, you're on probation. Mm-hmm. What did you think about that? Because we even have a video on that and so forth and everything. It's really nothing that bad, but we have people that sweat this,
Why?
I don't know, because I've never seen a big issue. You guys are just about other shortened time. Otherwise, you've about met all the requirements. I mean, and there isn't that much to it. We have things that we require people to do. Mm-hmm. Part of that's to make sure they're going to stay with us. Yep. We invest, and I think you'll agree with this, we invest a lot of time in everybody.
Everybody here does.
Yeah,
tons of time. We went their orientation. Everybody spent here time with Sierra and I. And, I could not believe it's like, these people are really investing in us.
Yes.
So
we put a lot of time, a lot of effort. So we want to make sure you're going to be there before we decide, hey, you're part of us. And I mean, you guys are certainly
one of us.
Yeah, one of us. Yeah. You are loved. What movie was that? I don't remember now, but that was a weird movie. Do you remember that?
Bodies?
I can't remember. There's a movie, and the catchphrase that was "You are loved."
No, you are loved.
No, you are loved.
See,
And-
I went straight to "Welcome to Costco. I love you."
Yeah, we seen that one too. Well, I tell you this one. The funny thing was they lived in this addition. It was a young couple moved in, and all the houses are exactly alike. And then down here in Southport, they built an addition like that. And it was funny because the church next to it put this sign out says, "Know you're loved." And I kept thinking, and every time I drove by there, I'd start laughing uncontrollably. And I'm sure none of it ever came to them what was going on, but that was just funny. So, but yeah, the probationary period, I told everybody it's roughly a year, but it's not really a year. It can be less or more. We try to make it fun when you make vet. And you know, people always say, well, do you have a party? No, but we've thought about that. You know, and we've done different things. Generally, the highlight is you get personalized business cards. You know, up to then you have to use generic, and I always carry generic anyways because my personal card has my personal phone number. And there's some people I don't want to have. You can talk to Jason Halls or Dave Schrader, or any of them. They'll tell you they don't always give out their numbers. The numbers have been given to me by people, especially television celebrity. They don't go outside my personal phone book because unless someone asks me and I give them permission, because that's their privacy. And you know, you just never know. People can, if they get a number, and I've had my number for years and years, and I don't want to have to change it. And I try to be careful of my people's privacy, and I'm fiercely defensive of my team members. I truly am.
Yep,
You know,
I get that.
I've
already gotten that.
I'm going to always make sure your safety's there and everything, and I take that very seriously. And I do the same thing with privacy. And I'll tell you, you got to kind of watch for that. But our at the end of it, we give you your personal business cards, and we give you something to start with. The rest you buy. And I usually give you a set of prayer beads that come with magnetite beads, and they have a little vial for holy water and so forth, and I give those out. And the other thing we do, and I don't know, do we, well, real quickly here, so we're getting close to the end of our time. Investigation. The first one we went to was kind of messed up for you guys. We went to Waverly, and it wasn't a general investigation. We bring equipment and we control the scene. This was a joint deal. There were other teams there investigating. But how did that feel the first time? I know you described a little bit of it with the EVPs and everything. Is there anything else you can think of from that one?
No, so Waverly has always been a place. I say I'm not a thrill seeker, but it has such a lore, and every ghost show you watch, everybody watches the ghost shows, and everybody went to it. So it was like, I really want to go to this place. I really want to see what it's about. Now, I want to say I didn't experience a whole lot. There was a couple feelings in a couple rooms, temperature differentials. Well, that could have been open window and stuff. And I was like, oh, this place is dead. No pun intended.
No, yeah.
But, but then had Heather's experiences, and I was like, oh, well, maybe that was just me.
Heather got scratched, what was it, 3 times?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Bruised?
Yeah. Bruised and scratched twice and bruised once, Yeah, she had, I don't know what there was. They didn't seem to be happy with her.
That or they were really trying to get your attention.
One or the other.
One or the other.
And Jennifer, a child grabbed her hand on the child ward. So a lot of people, it's kind of funny. I have always been that kind of person. I don't get a lot of personal experiences. It's very rare. So I'm always envious of people that do, except for when they get scratched.
Yeah.
I mean, that one.
You could add that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I never really. But, the funny thing is, don't feel bad. I mean, sometimes, but we had a lot of people in there. And every time I thought I was hearing something, it would be another person, another group. And next year we're going to get it. We'll do it just ourselves.
Yep.
It'll be different. They had a lot of rules we weren't used to where we could move and when we could move. And we don't normally operate that way. We come in, we have control of the operation, and it was different. But I want to say Waverly's crew was great. We appreciate it. And there will be an upcoming episode, folks, so stay tuned.
That's a beautiful facility. I can't believe how well they have preserved.
They've done well, and they're putting windows in now.
Yeah,
that
they're
was one
working
thing I
on it.
noticed. Yeah, they're working on it. They're putting windows in, and that'll make a difference. He said what they do is if they get all the windows in, they can control the climate a little better. They maybe be open longer during the year. So, and that's a nice way of keeping people out. If you can get the windows in, it's
be more
deterrent.
secure.
Yeah, be a lot more secure.
Yeah,
So
I can't wait. I definitely want to go back. I mean, it's one of those places where it was a bucket list item for me. It's a beautiful facility. It's got all this history. There's such potential. I do definitely want to go back when it's just us, because there was so much contamination. I was like listening to this, and I was listening to evidence, and I'm hearing this, and I'm like, oh, hey, there's something. And then I was watching a video. I was watching your cam, and it had a better audio on. And I was like, no, that's just a woman walking through.
Yeah.
It's like so
we I
disappointing.
don't know how many times we sat down. Matter of fact, before the last meeting, the one we went through 15 times because you want it to be evidence, but at the same time, you don't want it to be contamination you accept it as evidence.
Oh, no.
So you have to sit really, and we always had a theory, and this has always been our team's theory, when in doubt, throw it out.
Yep.
And so that's kind of how we're, we got to eat dinner that night, and that's probably the first time you've got to eat dinner as a group.
Yep.
We cut up a little bit. We try to have a good time. I think everybody, when you get to break bread together, to me, that's very special. It gives you a chance. And then, of course, the drive, there's nothing like when you go to Paracon, you're in the car 8 hours with everybody. That's when you find out who everybody truly is.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're squished in.
Yeah.
And we can tell you funny stories about that. But, yeah, how did you feel about that? I mean, it was a short ride, but you had a chance to visit. And
No, it was great. I still owe Jennifer an apology. I was supposed to capture video of us getting packed and getting in the car. And all I ended up getting was a picture of Sierra's butt.
Yeah. But it's a good picture, Sierra. Don't worry. Yeah.
I already deleted it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want my
Awesome,
wife
thanks.
going. I didn't want my wife going. Why do you have a picture of Sierra's butt? And it was
Who is that woman?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
So no, it was like I felt so horrible. But I got a new phone, so that won't happen again.
It happens.
my
That's part of the fun things you can tell later. That's just part of it.
I'm gonna chalk it up to paranormal since those two recorders didn't record. They were formatted, so it was paranormal.
Well, this
right?
time we're going to do a little loading thing. We get a little B-reel. We call it B-reel. I'm terrible at it because I'll forget about it at times. And, when I'm loading, my entire focus is playing Tetris to get to people where they have it. Because I was worried about you being tall that you wouldn't have enough leg room. I do real well in vehicles. Everybody always says, well, be in charge, you want to sit in front. No, not generally. I mean, a lot of times, I'll sit anywhere in the rig. I don't have a problem. I want everybody to be as comfortable as they can. Rides, for me at my age, because I have sciatica problems, is always a bit of a challenge. It doesn't matter where I sit, And so that's why, Andrew always stops every 2 hours, lets me stretch a little bit. It helps me get through. Usually by the time when we went to Sault Ste. Marie for the Michigan Paracon, by that last 2 hours, the only thing that really took it away from me was I was scared to death of the bridge. And I don't know why, because as I get older, for some stupid reason, I've developed this dislike for tall bridges. And mostly that one, and it has to do with the Yugo story we'll go over some other time. I mean, we've gone over it in another broadcast, but they blew a Yugo off the bridge. Always bothers me a hair. And then, Andrew has this wonderful timing. We wait to get in the middle of the bridge. He says, you ever notice there's no guardrails on the bridge? I'm thinking, you couldn't have held that till we got to the other side or got home?
You don't have your faith in government infrastructure?
Not a lot, no.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I mean, we all pick our own political parties. I have faith in mine, but I don't have that much faith when it comes to that bridge. No.
Municipalities.
Strictly me and God. That's it. Yeah, because I tell you what, that bridge, and I'll tell you, the only guy more scared than I was Steve Gonzalez, because he didn't realize the story of the bridge till I told him. He goes, why did you tell me that? And, he's scared of a lot of things, but that's one that he now has. And when you drive across that, it's 3 miles. It's the longest 3 miles of my life. And Andrew used to stop. There's a rest stop right before you go over. He would stop there to give me a chance to pray or whatever I wanted to do before you hit the bridge. And, he goes, you want to close your eyes? I go, oh, hell no, I want to see how I'm going. And, we would drive across. And once we got across, I was fine. But I went through the Grand Gorge. I was never afraid of bridges. As I get older, I don't know why. But I think it's because of the Yugo story and everything he told. But anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a bonding experience. That's the fun thing.
Was. I wanted to be behind you so I could take video, but that video.
Oh, I'm sorry. You could have. I mean, I wanted you in a comfortable seat, wherever I put you at.
I'm tall. I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
But my legs are short. I only have a 32-inch inseam.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. I mean, it's like Jennifer. I'll put her in the front because she got more room up there and she can relax a little bit. I don't usually care. The only problem anybody has is this near me. I will doze occasionally. I ex-military, I can sleep standing up, and I always do that. Yeah.
I fell asleep in the car. I don't know if you noticed.
Oh,
that.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I was kind of glad everybody did. I was just worried about Andrew falling asleep. That was the only body I was staying awake for. I was right there with him. And because that's the first time he's ever worried me about not having enough sleep. And, because we didn't get to do what we usually do where he gets to take a
Yeah.
nap.
Well, they wouldn't let us out,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't let him go to the car. I'm like,
Yeah. I told
No.
him, I said, it's like being under house arrest.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing in the world.
yeah. So if anybody's going,
Oh, yeah.
and you're doing that event, just
Yeah.
know that you only can go out at certain times, and you have to be accompanied. You can't
Yeah,
just
you can't leave the building, and then when you go out, once they put you out to investigate, you can leave your stuff in the break room. They lock the break room, but you're only allowed access to the break room like 2 or 3 times. And they'll tell you the times, they ring a horn, and then you're allowed in. And I swear to God, it's kind of like being in a prison. If I've never been in one, but I would think that'd be the way of it, And I got thinking, oh, this doesn't really fit anything the way we investigate.
You didn't do a background check on me to see? No.
No. Yeah, usually, if we do get, if you noticed in the releases, we ask permission to run a background. Usually I don't unless I have a reason to or I have a weird feeling. We have had some interesting background checks where we've done them before.
Mhm.
Normally, everybody has problems. I don't count speeding tickets. I don't count a lot of things. But, yeah, we've actually had to deny some people that had some really bad criminal past. And one particular one we went through, the girl that applied actually had an open warrant.
But
Oh, yeah, and that was many years ago, and I'll never forget it. And Andrew was fairly new back then, and I couldn't believe it. And I called Ed, who's my co-founder. I said, "I don't believe this. This guy's got an open warrant." And I'll never forget because he goes, "Can we collect the bond?" I go, "No, we can't collect the bond."
why
And
not?
yeah,
He's like, oh, how much is it?
yeah. I mean,
It's a wire.
I
Get in
had
on
to
it?
laugh. I mean, you got to applaud. At least he's trying to figure out how to raise funds. But I mean, yeah. But we usually, and I probably shouldn't have said this on air, but yeah, I usually don't do background checks unless I have a reason to worry about something. And I can do them free. It doesn't, I have ways of doing that, and it's not a big problem. But normally it's not something I worry about. But there was another gal that we did them on, and she came back, but the only thing we found out is I don't know how she could rent any place. She'd been evicted like 11 times.
Oh.
And I thought, geez, oh, Pete, why are you not living in a camper or something? I mean, but yeah.
Cardboard box.
Yeah, I mean, but that was all it came back, nothing criminal. And, I always said that I like to think I have a pretty good judge of character. And, if I don't have any red flags that come up, but we've had some come in this group that I should have seen and didn't, and it got passed. It happens. So,
The naked woman.
yeah, I don't want to go into all that, but yeah, not on air. But yeah, oh yeah, that's definitely one I missed somehow or another. And yeah, so it happens. It truly, truly happens. And we try to avoid all those kind of situations. And when that individual came on, they were very stable. I didn't see this happening, but I should have picked up on some things as things rolled along, and I didn't, unfortunately. So, we still laugh and tell that story, but we're just not doing it on air. But anyway.
I like the group.
Yeah.
You guys have all been super welcoming to me. You've made me feel important. You've made me feel valued. You've made me feel like I'm one of the family. And so,
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
No, we want you to be part of the family. I mean, and one thing you guys haven't got to go through was our bonding processes. We were still trying, and we may still have one, the Midsummer's Eve. We usually do something this year because we moved last year, and we're still trying to set up and all the mess going on. We've had a lot going on. Everybody seems to have a lot going on this year, and we didn't quite get there as fast as we wanted to, but we'll probably do something in the fall. We do a Christmas party where all the members and their spouses come out, and
Or significant others.
yeah, it's like Robbie Burns, the famous Scottish poet, said, bring your wife, bring your girlfriend, please don't bring both. So anyway, but yeah, it's a nice time. We have a good time. Both floors of the house are open. Everybody can mingle. The bar is open. Everybody gets a chance to move back and forth and enjoy each other's company and meet spouses, because the spouses are really heroes too, because they put up with all of our late nights, us skating all around. I know those that are married, the spouse, they get to see who you've been running around with in the middle of the night, and certainly in Eric's case, his wife is one of our subject matter experts. She's a reverend. She is our clergy. But, she doesn't go on the investigation, so it gives her a chance to see everybody, meet everybody, and she does come to meetings. So, I mean, from time to time, and that helps. But, for the wife that doesn't or the husband that doesn't, it gives everybody,
You're doing what again?
Yeah, yeah. You know, a lot of them just don't know how. You know, and it's interesting because I asked one year one simple question: what in your mind's eye before you arrived? What did you think we would all look like? And you know, and she goes, "Oh my God, I wouldn't tell you that." And you know, because it makes people wonder, considering what we do. I always told everybody when I was single before I met Heather, when a lady would ask me what my hobby was, I had a 50-50 shot, you know, whether I wanted to tell her or not. And I would a lot of times use the word parapsychology. It's great because half of them did not know what parapsychology was. And that bought you a little bit of time before they started to ask you what parapsychology, or they Googled it on the phone. Then it was either, oh, that's so cool, you look for a ghost, or oh my God, look at the time, I've got to go. And, you know, and that's the way it is. I mean, we're up at the Paracon in Michigan. Aaron Segers had a wonderful session one time called Hello Weirdo. And honestly, you know, in most everybody's eyes, we're all weirdos. And, you know, most people view us that way.
So I found my people.
Exactly. You found your home. I mean, you know, welcome weirdo.
One
and I
of
mean,
us.
you know, yeah. And every time he would do a lecture, I think he would start out with hello weirdos. and you know, that's what it, you know, and it got to be, you think about it, it truly is. You know, it's hard to find people. And we take it seriously, I'd like to think, when we need to as a science. And not every group does that. I've seen some incredible things happen in groups. So, well, it's give us a time to talk to you tonight, Eric. And I tell you what, I think you did really well on the podcast. You'd fit right in here.
This is fun.
Yeah, it's good time. I mean, we always have
You
good
gotta
time.
come back.
Yeah, we get to drink. I mean, tonight, what were you drinking tonight, Eric?
So this is a barrel pick that one of my friends did. It's a Flux Row Rebel brand. It's a single barrel, but they put the staves in it, so they finish it with some staves. So it's not quite a double oak, but it's nice and chocolatey. So it's a barrel proof, but
it is good. I did sample it. It is excellent. I took a little sip of it to see what that tasted, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's not for beginners.
Yep.
It's pretty hot, but
it's complex. It's got a little bit of complex flavoring, especially in the finish. So,
but nice and chocolatey.
Yep.
Delicious.
Teledoon is my single malt scotch for the night, my usual. So I took it non-eventful. I didn't do anything exciting, and Heather's sporting a Mountain Dew. Yeah, she didn't do any alcohol tonight.
Yeah, I can see that over there now.
Yeah, Sierra, what did I fix you? Do you remember?
I don't think you ever told me.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is a caramel
apple.
apple. Yeah, it's a caramel apple, and it's actually you can make a candied apple or caramel. I made you a caramel apple, and yeah, they're real good. I can't have them because they have too much sugar in them, the liqueurs. But I tell you what, they are good. It's one of the many drinks. I always ask people when I was bartending, there's two ways to determine drinkers. Either you like the taste of alcohol or you don't. If you don't, you like fruit, you like chocolate, you like things like that. And that tells me what drinks to make, and it makes it easier. Yeah, if you could come in probably for the next 3 months, and I could make you a different drink every time you came in. You know, it just it gives you a broad field to work with.
You were a bartender once, I think.
I taught bartending.
Yeah,
I taught bartending for a while. I taught bartending and bar management. I taught a little bit of flair, but my guy that I taught with, he did most. He actually placed third in the Las Vegas flair competition.
Oh, wow!
When you're a fireman, you do a lot of things on the side until you get to be an officer where you're making big money. So you always, you know, I know guys that clean chimneys, guys that did contracting. You know, I did contracting for a while. Everybody does a lot of things on the side, but yeah, I actually am a certified mixologist, and I my biggest amount of bartending was for the Shrine. I was a potentate's aide, and I especially bartended ladies' parties, because most of the older guys, if you ordered a Jack and Coke, the way they poured it a lot of times was 50-50, 50% Jack, 50% Coke. It was a great night.
Whoa.
Yeah, let me tell you. Yeah.
Ouch.
There was a little misunderstanding on how to drink. Unless it was something they drank, they really didn't know how to mix it. So a lot of them would either ask you or something else. When I came in, immediately, because I think I made a pina colada, a slushy pina colada, and for the potentate's wife, and she looked at me and she says, "I want you at every one of my parties tending." And that was it. From that point on, you know, and I always joked, I always told half the guys that they got laid, they owed me. Because, you know, by the time the party was over, and I could always make all kinds of things, and they always go, you know, I'm always told I make an extremely good Bloody Mary. I don't like tomato juice, so I won't taste it. I'm not, but I make it. It includes horseradish. It includes a lot of things. And, every morning they would start out with Bloody Marys. I would make pictures of those, so and I'd hand shake them before I put them back in the glass, and that makes them a little frothy and a little easier to drink. Put a pickle, piece of celery in there. He gave them a little breakfast, get them going. So, well, folks, that's all we have for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this chance to meet Eric Knight, our newest member, and there will be more to come. So. But for tonight, that's all we have. Anybody else have anything they'd like to put in before we close?
No.
No? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Ghost to Ghost. And we are on YouTube. Please bear with us. We're having a little bit of trouble, but if you go to Ghost and Spirit Indiana, that'll help you find it. Or there's a link on our website under social media tab. So please take a look. Yep. Thank you so much. We have Eric Knight, who will be reading our story of the night.
Yeah, this one comes from The Graveyard by Ed and Lorraine Warren, and it's called The White Lady. Starts with, a hobo was passing through Monroe one night and decided to sleep on the hill above Union Cemetery. It was the right night for sleeping outside. The temperature was in the 70s, the stars out were full and bright, and the sweet smell of newly mown grass floating on the air. I actually can smell that right now. That's
nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's see. Just after 10, the hobo unrolled his sleeping bag and went to sleep. Around midnight, however, he woke up without knowing quite why. He guessed it was because he was not a heavy sleeper. Distant cars and trains frequently awakened him. He sat up, rubbing his eyes, sleep from his eyes. Below him spread Union Cemetery, shadowy and dignified in the moonlight. Inevitably, sight of the graveyard caused the hobo to think of his own demise someday. He had a son somewhere whom he wanted to say goodbye to before his own time came. And then the hobo saw the glow. At first he was not certain what he was seeing, merely an elongated glow that seemed to be flitting through the tombstones. He stood up, fascinated, walking swiftly down the hill through the newly mown grass. By now he sat by that the glow was actually a woman dressed in a veil and a wedding gown, of a style from the last century. Around the woman moved many small dark shapes, and the hobo could hear the woman speaking, as if she were arguing with the shapes. And then, as suddenly she had appeared, the white lady vanished, taking the dark shapes with her. The hobo never forgot the encounter with the white lady, nor have the dozens of other people who've had similar encounters with her. Given the nature of the ghosts, people whom have often suffered tragedies and whom therefore rooted to the area where tragedy took place, it's reasonable to assume that the white lady was a resident of the area and that some terrible fate overtook her. For several past decades, the people in and around Monroe have seen the lady. Indeed, when Ed and Lorraine had advertised in the newspaper that they wanted to speak to anybody who'd seen the lady, many, many people phoned and wrote, eager to tell their stories. Among the people who shared their stories with the Warrens were the Barberia brothers, Frank and Vincent. Today, Frank is a retired Connecticut state trooper. Vincent lives in the South. We lived in the house above Union Cemetery, Frank notes, and one spring night when they were boys, we were down at the cemetery playing when we saw this very bright light. In the middle of the light was a very attractive woman. She was very close, no more than 200 yards away. We stopped playing, and we just stared at her as she floated through the cemetery. She wasn't alone, Vincent says. There were these dark forms around her, and they seemed to be arguing with the woman. She was dressed in an old-fashioned veil and full wedding gown. Frightened, the boys ran up the hill and tried to get their parents to come down and see the lady in the cemetery. Their father just shrugged. He thought the boys had just gotten overexcited and were imagining things. Their mother, always a good sport, went down to the cemetery, but when she got there, the lady was gone. When their mother saw the headlights sweep over the cemetery, she thought that what the boys had seen was probably headlights, nothing more. Night after night, the boys sat at their bedroom window, looking for the white lady to appear again. Seeing her had been eerie, and yet it was an experience they wanted to have again. Years later, when he was a young man, Vincent did see the lady again. In fact, he saw her twice. One night I was sitting on a ledge across from the cemetery. I sat there a lot of times so I could look down for deer to shoot, and then I looked down into the cemetery, and I saw the white lady. This time there didn't seem to be anybody with her, no dark form or anything, and no sound of arguing either. She moved up the driveway and toward the entrance to the cemetery. I could see her very clearly, and then vanished, just like smoke. On another occasion, Vincent was coming home late one night, and there, just off the road, he saw the lady in the cemetery again. No voices this time either, just a shimmering white light with the lady in the middle of it. There are many tales of the white lady, perhaps the oldest being of a man who went to the cemetery late one night to speak with his recently buried wife. Just by kneeling at his wife's grave, the man felt as if she were there with him again. This particular night, however, as he knelt there in the chill autumn night, dead leaves scraping across the gravestone surrounding him, a great sorrow filled him. As he looked up from his wife's grave, he saw the white lady standing there, watching him. "I wish my husband would have loved me as much as you love your wife," she said. And then she was gone, leaving him alone in the midnight graveyard, and his own grief and loss.
Formats on the 15th and 30th of the month at midnight. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, maybe have a question or subject you'd like to ask about on air or be used on the show, please email us at ghosttoghost@spiritindiana.com, ghosttoghost@spiritindiana.com. I want to thank my production staff on Spirit, Jennifer Verne, our research manager and our producer, and Heather Lawson, our trainer on Spirit and our podcast director, for helping make these podcasts possible. My chief of staff, Andrew Brooks, for his guidance and help on the scripts, and everyone else involved. Thank you so much. See you next time. Until then, stay safe and remember the truth is out there. Good night. Ghost to Ghost podcast and its contents is the property of Spirit Paranormal Ltd. All rights reserved. We welcome you to download and play the podcast and share with others for personal use. You may not, except with written permission, use or distribute its contents for commercial use. Spirit Indiana Paranormal, covering the Hoosier State since 2002, Indy's oldest parapsychology investigation group. If you're experiencing what you believe to be paranormal issues, reach out to us for help at www.spiritindiana.com or call our hotline at 317-883-9103. Again, that is www.spiritindiana.com or our hotline at 317-883-9103. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself and the ones you love, and be safe out there.